What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the video. So in this one, I'm talking about NVDA. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a bearish case, but also some bullish things. I truthfully kind of think NVIDIA is overvalued for a number of reasons, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see if this stock just continues to defy the odds and just make a massive run up in price. Also, I feel like I'm a little bit more tilted towards the side that it's going to fall, potentially even like cut in half in the next year or two. And I'm going to explain my reasoning behind this. But if you do enjoy this type of content, please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below what you think about NVIDIA. But I do not own any shares of NVIDIA. I'm not shorting it. I'm not in any options on it. I think that the stock is a little bit too volatile in my personal opinion, and I don't know too much about GPUs, but I think I know enough to kind of understand where NVIDIA is trading and the price and relative valuation on it. So let's go ahead and just talk about it. So NVIDIA right now trades around 127 bucks, and we can see over the past 5 years, the stock is up almost 3,100%. Like one of the best performing stocks. I think it might be the best performing stock of the year. We're looking at a company that has become the biggest market cap. I believe it's still sitting at that level, I want to say, at $3.16 trillion. It's tied up there with Apple and Microsoft. I honestly do not know which one is the biggest, but massive company that has seen insane growth all over their top and bottom line over the past year and just kind of making the world a shocking thing. So let me go ahead and talk a little bit more. Over the past week, it's up about 3%. Past month, this stock is continuing to go up and up. We saw the 10-to-1 stock split, so this stock is $123. It should be relatively about $1,230, but with the stock split, the stock is trading at much cheaper levels. And on the last trading day, yesterday on July 3rd, the stock made a massive run up in a quick amount of time. Now, why that happened, I do not actually know the exact reasons, but end of the trading, middle of the trading week, we're seeing the stock making huge moves. So let me go ahead and talk about my kind of thesis on NVIDIA. So even though this company is a tech, high-growing semiconductor company, you still have to look at evaluation. You never want to pay too much for a company, because when you're really looking at it, at the end of the day, whenever you're buying a stock, you're really paying for the value. Is what you're buying worth how much you're paying for it? All right. And just looking at their EV to EBITDA, price to earnings, and things like that, I'm taking current levels of today's market cap, price to sales. The only difference with these valuations is the number of shares outstanding at the time, and on the EV to EBITDA, the difference is going to be the net debt that they had at the time. So looking at these levels, here is where we sit at today. Very high, very, very high evaluation. All right. 39, basically 40 times price to sales. That's much higher than its industry average. You're looking, this is kind of from Morningstar right here. We're looking at just key competitors such as AMD, Intel, and Qualcomm. Price to sales on their next closest is AMD at 11.5. That's very far away from 40.8. Now, NVIDIA is a key dominator in the market, but I don't know if there's a way to necessarily justify a 40 times price to sales, other than the fact that their PE, it's the second highest. Looking at AMD, NVIDIA does have really good margins, but the valuation, in my personal opinion, it's just very hard to explain, because you're looking at a $3 trillion company that's trading on like $80 billion of sales, right? That's very unheard of, and there's only so much. There's a ceiling where NVIDIA's got to stop. This company can't become a $10 trillion company and become like a third of the USA GDP. That'd be actually more than a third. All right, NVIDIA, it's just highly overvalued. This price of sales of 40 is just, it boggles my mind. All right, to be completely honest, and I'm not saying that NVIDIA doesn't necessarily deserve this, but I think that it's just too much, and the valuation multiples are just actually absurd. All right, now I want to talk a little bit, if you want a maybe bullish case, this could be another reason why, we're seeing a lot of attention on NVIDIA and why we had that price run up yesterday. But basically translated, I do speak a little bit of Spanish. I believe this says Nancy Pelosi, the best trader of the planet, just bought more shares of NVIDIA. We can see right here, On July 2nd, it was filed. June 26th, it was traded, taking an average price about $123. We can see it's about a $1.23 million trade. But also, she just seems to be very bullish on the sector of AI and semiconductors and tech, even with Visa, fintech. She also entered large option calls in Broadcom, and this is actually bearish. And she actually sold her positions in Visa and in Tesla. All right, and this says adjust your portfolios appropriately, how you see it fit. So this is just kind of interesting. I wanted to point out, but let's talk more about the NVIDIA valuation. All right, the green is your price to sales, your forward price. Your green is your forward price to earnings, and your blue is your forward price to sales. Now, currently, NVIDIA price to sales in a forward basis is about 24. Price to earnings about 44. All right. Their price to sales can be slightly justified by the fact that their margins are so good. This company does have very solid margins, but I think the valuation level is just very high. You're looking at a price to sales on the S&P 500 about 2.9. That's very, very low compared to NVIDIA. And there's only, how much more can they increase their margins? They have to increase their sales. But also, with the stock, what you're seeing is it's up about 203% this past year. Since January, it's up about 680% since January of 2023. All right, now, they kind of have a weird fiscal year. Their first quarter 2025 actually ended in April of 2024. And so just kind of taking things back a notch. All right, this 1Q 2024 was from the end of January of 2023 to April of 2023. All right, so the stock has gone up about 680% since around this time. The revenue growth year over year since then is about 208%. The EBITDA is about 709. The net income is about 788%. The free cash flow is 430%. All right, this company is growing its financials drastically. Now, the sales are growing by a lot. Do not get me wrong. But the margins are increasing, the net income is increasing, so it seems very valid. But there's a number of reasons why I think this might have to cap down, and we're going to see a little bit of a change in NVIDIA, because I don't necessarily see this company becoming a $4 trillion company super soon. Now, little quick pause, please subscribe to me and my channel, I'd really appreciate it. But let's talk about some kind of competition in just this industry as a whole. So NVIDIA has ridden its competitive advantages to a much-needed stock split. We all know about the stock split. But according to a study conducted by semiconductor analysis company Tech Insights, NVIDIA was responsible for shipping 3.76 million of the 3.85 million GPUs for the AI accelerated data centers in 2023. So for their AI, basically for their AI basis of GPUs, they almost had a 98% market share, and some would say that's a monopoly. All right, but when you look at NVIDIA, 40% of their net sales are derived from the Magnificent Seven members, the companies that are huge, and these tech companies that are kind of taking up a huge percent of share of the S&P 500 returns, NVIDIA leading the way. But you can see 40% of their sales derived from Microsoft, Meta Platforms, Amazon, and Alphabet. All right. During Meta's first quarter, they say they kind of have the idea to springboard its capital expenditures and its AI ambitions, and all these companies really want to go ahead and continue to do this. But there's going to be a lot of external competition when it comes to this, and are they going to stick with NVIDIA? Who knows? You're having experienced competition from AMD, from Intel. There's claims that their new, I believe it's Gaudi 3, has interference and energy efficiency advantages over NVIDIA's current chip. AMD, they're also doing the same. Basically, new competition is coming into the market, even though NVIDIA got that first player's advantage. Second players, third players, fourth players are all going to be coming in the market, giving NVIDIA more competition. And I don't think that this growth and this huge uptrend is just necessarily that sustainable, because it's not just these external competitors that's going to be a problem for NVIDIA. As we said, the Magnificent Seven, they're all internally developing AI GPUs for their data centers. So hypothetically, let's just say they all get these great GPUs. NVIDIA is going to become a much less player in their need for their GPUs. So let's say Alphabet, or let's just take Microsoft. Let's say they developed their own chips. They figured it all out on their own. They could do it in-house. they're kind of just going to not need NVIDIA, and 40% of the sales from the All Magnificent Seven are going to be almost at a risk. All right, so you're looking at this huge increase in competition and just potential ideas that could hurt NVIDIA in a bearish way. But, looking at their kind of pricing power, it's going to be slacking. All right, their current adjusted gross margin forecast for this upcoming fiscal quarter is a decline of about 2.35 to 3.35% from the sequential quarter, so from Q1 2025. Likely signals that these pressures of competition are kind of taking on, every next thing that we've seen with, all the big tech that could come into play, the dot-com bubble, and everything that just, think of any big tech. All right, a lot of these companies, actually all of them who are seen to be the next big thing, take huge plummets. All right, the leader of every next big innovation for at least 3 decades has seen its share price eventually decline by at least 50%. All right, now I don't want this to come off as me thinking NVIDIA is a terrible company and it won't be a successful company in the long run. I'm just thinking in a more short term, maybe even over the next year. All right, there's going to be a lot of competition and a lot of things coming in for NVIDIA that they had this huge advantage. All right, they had this huge first movers pricing power, and I think they're going to lose that. They're going to lose that pricing power, and they're going to lose this first movers advantage to competitors who are catching up and going to take their share into what is going to be a massive business opportunity for them. But also, just to kind of talk about ETFs and NVIDIA, the volatility, a lot of ETFs have been having to rebalance their portfolios to keep up with NVIDIA. If it owns a few percent this and that, it'll have a short-term impact on the stock. Rebalancing, adding more NVIDIA into ETFs, and just putting in more shares to kind of upweight with how big NVIDIA is becoming. All right, it's up since about 150% since January, and a lot of retail traders, and I honestly think a lot of institutions are selling the stock because as an institution, you just don't have that. You don't have that glamour of keeping that risk. If you're up 150% on a $3 trillion company, at a certain point, you're trimming profits, right? You have people whose money you're investing, they're more than happy with 150%. Are you really that confident to continue riding the stock? And so, yes, some downward pressures. I believe that's a number of reasons why the stock has fallen over the past month. You could say, even though it hasn't fallen over the past month, it's kind of corrected itself a little bit, and I think we're going to continue to see that over time. And something that I thought was very interesting were some put options that go out until December 19th of 2025. Now, these are all out of the money. This is going to be your strike price, and this is just your open interest that I think is very interesting, and these are the last traded dates. All right, so here's everything. I think going until the 60 strike is a pretty good basis to see where people are looking. But you can see there's a lot of open interest in these puts for about a year and a half from now that almost indicate there's some other speculation that this stock and these put options could expire with good relative profits. All right, and don't get me wrong, these are quite cheap. All right, $2.62, so $262 to pay for this. That's not bad at all. All right, so there is a reason why they're getting bought. But let's say, hypothetically, NVIDIA in the next year and a half loses half its market cap, falls from a $123 company all the way to a $65 company. If that were to happen, hypothetically, July, August, let's just say around, it'll be further out, but what you'd be looking at is around the stock, this is around 80, so I'm being a little bit conservative, but the stock would trade realistically around this price level. All right, so it's something that we saw the stock here at the beginning of 2024. I don't necessarily think it's an impossibility that the stock will fall that far. I'm not hating on the stock. I'm not suggesting you short it. I'm here for just entertainment purposes only. But I think it's something to be aware of. I think that this bull run at some point is going to end on NVIDIA, and the bearish case is going to kick in just because the business itself is going to face things that it hasn't faced yet, and it's going to have further complications. But if you did enjoy my video, please subscribe to my channel. I'll give you a little sub, please. Wow. it sucks to draw on TradingView. Please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment below where you think NVIDIA is going to be heading. Thank you again so much for watching my video, and I will see you at the next one.